Hello everyone, welcome back to the Angular Live project. In this video we will discuss how to create a student registration API, and through that we will insert the student data into the table, or basically to the identity table. In the previous video we have created the database or identity database that we can see inside the SQL server, and these are the identity table which we have created. In this video we will create an API or a registration API, and through that what we will do, we will insert the data into the database. So for that, first, like what we have to do, we have to create a controller. So in the controller folder we can see there is already existing a weather forecast controller given by the project or the Microsoft or Visual Studio. So for our requirement, what we have to do, we have to create our own controller. So let's click on the controller. From here let's select API controller empty, and then from here you select it and give the name of our controller. So I'm going to give the controller name as application user. So let's give application user controller, and inside this application controller user is basically inherited from the controller base, and it is showing here. For creating a API inside the like application user controller, what we have to do, we have to take two classes first. One is the like private, one is user manager, and that is come from the like ASP.NET Core identity. Let's give application user inside this one, and this is coming from the model. So let's take this is the application user and give the object name as a user manager. So basically this application user class is inside the model class that we have created previously, as it is inherited from the identity user. Now next what we have to do, we have to take another class as is for the sign in manager. So let's take it as a sign in manager and give the name as a sign in here. So the use of these two classes is basically for authentication purpose, and we are going to discuss about the authentication when we will create the login API. So these two classes is required for the registration and the login purpose. Now next let's create the constructor, and in this constructor let's inject these two classes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to inject these two classes, and I'm going to take as a U and copy this one, and here I'm going to take an object of S, and let's assign these value the object which we have created. So that we have done as a dependency injection here, and we have injected these two classes. So after doing this one, now next what we have to do, we have to create the method, or basically a post method which like create the user, or it will create the student profile for us. So for creating that one, first what we have to do, we have to create the public, and then we have to create a async method, and then the task type will be the object, and here we have to give the name. So here I can give student registration, and inside this one we have to pass one class that will have the properties which we are going to assign into the database. So for that what we have to do, we have to create a one class here with property, and I can give the class name as a application user model. Inside this one I'm going to create the properties. So first property I'm going to take as a username, and next let's copy this one, and I'm going to take a let's copy properly, and this property name I'm going to take as a email, and next property I'm going to take as a full name, and next property I'm going to take as a password. So after creating all these property, let's take this one inside this and make it object as a model. So after that, like we have taken this application user model, let's create an object of like user and object of basically this application user. So let's create an object of application user, and inside this one let's assign the value. So username, so let's take this one first. So let's create new here, and then let's take the username equal to model dot username, and then let's take the full name equal to model dot full name, and then email ID equal to model dot email. We are not taking here the password because that password is a secured password, so that we will pass while creating the post request. So here now let's take the try catch block, so it will be good to handle the exception. So let's take the exception here, and I'm going to create an object of ES, and inside this one let's throw this exception, and inside this try block I'm going to take where result equal to, since I'm using the async method here, async and the task, then we have to create this as a await, and user manager dot create async. So this method, like we can see, this create method, like what it do, create the specified user in the backing store with no password as a asynchronous operation. So inside this one what we have to do, we have to pass the object of user comma, and then we have to pass, like we can see as a method it is taking as a password, so we have to pass the password. So model dot password, so that we have to pass it here, and then we have to return the value. So return OK, and inside this one we have to return this result. So what we have done here, basically we have created a one application user model, and we are assigning those value into inside the application user, and then we are creating this data using the user manager create async. So basically this class is responsible, this user manager class is responsible to create the data and insert the data inside the ASP.NET users. So that is the advantage of the identity tables. Now we have to make this method as a post method. So let's make it as a HTTP post. And next, if we want to call this API with different name, then we can give the name here as a route, and here we have inside this one we have to give the different name. So let's take it as a register. So when we will call like API and then the application user and slash register, then it will hit to this API. So let's write this also. So it's a post method, and that how it will call, it will call API. Then if we will call as a application user, so basically it call with the controller name application user and with the register. So when we will call this like with this API, then it will hit to this method and it will create a user for us. So in the coming video we will discuss about like how to do the testing of this API using the Postman. So that's it for this video. Thank you.